Dolores Claiborne is a psychological horror drama written by Stephen King in 1992. The film adaptation was released in 1995. The story follows a reporter played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, who returns to her hometown in Maine after her mother, played by Kathy Bates, is accused of murdering the elderly woman she housekept for. The film has a noir feel with a feminist undertone. The film was written by Tony Gilroy and directed by Taylor Hackford, who also directed The Devil's Advocate and Ray. Hey guys, and welcome back to Garage Stephen-King-a-thon, where every day, for the month of October, we revisit a Stephen King adaptation. Today we're talking about Dolores Claiborne, which, not really a horror movie in my opinion. It's more of a thriller, but it's like that borderline in my opinion. It's like, to me it's something almost like Silence of the Lambs, except a lot less gory, but it still has that kind of mystery, thriller, detective feel. I just want to say right off the bat that I was reminded that Christopher Plummer was in this movie, the great Christopher Plummer, who actually passed away, I'd say about a year ago, but rest in peace, Christopher Plummer. If you haven't seen The Beginners, I love Christopher Plummer in that movie. He's really good. I think he won an Oscar for that movie, actually. But I feel like that movie doesn't get enough credit. It's actually a pretty decent movie. But I saw this movie for the first time when I was pretty young. I was a little kid, and I had no recollection of what happened in this movie. The only thing I remembered was the shot of Kathy Bates holding the rolling pin, getting ready to take the elderly woman out of her misery. Pun intended. Ha ha! Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Anyway, so I was talking about this in my review for Needful Things, how I thought that movie was boring ultimately because the audience knows what's happening and you're just waiting for the sheriff in that movie to find out what's happening. Here it's like the complete 180 of that. You have characters discovering the plot, and the audience discovers the plot at the same time as these characters. Jennifer Jason Leigh wants to discover more about her mother's troubled past, and as she discovers the mother's troubled past, we discover the mother's troubled past. So structurally, this is exactly what I wanted in a movie like Needful Things. This movie is such a solid narrative. I was hooked from start to finish. I didn't move from my seat once. I didn't pause the movie once. I didn't do anything. I was just hooked to that screen. The director had me. And the movie has no stupid gimmicks, no hickory docks, no hooplas, no anything. This is just a very straightforward narrative. And I was reminded, I feel like this is something I noticed just about this movie, but it showed me a problem that's going on with modern movies. I feel like modern movies always need to have a twist. Like a twist ending that comes out of nowhere. And here I watched this movie that doesn't really have a twist ending. It has a very straightforward narrative, but I was just invested in it. The characters were really interesting. The themes were really compelling in this film, which we're going to get into the themes later. But just everything was told so beautifully. One thing I really liked about this movie is that when it takes place in the past, the colors are very gray. When we have flashbacks that go back, the colors become very saturated and very colorful.
Well, let me teach you how. Yeah, I know you are. You're smart. Let's count like five. You want to play hide and seek? Ready? 9, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Where is she? Where did she go? I can't find.
And I thought that was a very beautiful thing. The one thing I didn't like about this movie on a visual level is when it came to the scene of the solar eclipse. It's kind of hard to film a solar eclipse because, first of all, you can't stare at it, and second of all, it only happens like once in a while. So I get why they use CG. It just took me out of it though, so.
Oh, God damn. She's disappearing all right.
That's the only thing I can think of. But that's what, it's just everything else. The way it's presented, the way it's told, the script itself, it's very solid. I feel like more movies need to be like this. Just a straightforward, good gripping movie. This movie, much like I talked about in Carrie, explores themes of feminism, which if you didn't see my Carrie review, I talked about how Stephen King got the idea for Carrie because he was confronted by a woman who criticized him for not being able to write female characters. And if Carrie wasn't enough proof that he can write female characters, this is even further proof. I feel like the themes in this movie of feminism are told in a very riveting way. A lot of people on the internet complain about feminism in films, but I don't feel like they're complaining about the theme of feminism itself. I feel like audiences are used to seeing themes of feminism in film, movies like Carrie, but also movies like Terminator 2, Judgment Day, Aliens, Kill Bill. Those are all movies with a heavy feminist message. It's just done very subtly, and it's something that the audience can pick up on subconsciously when it's in your face and it's just like, girl power! Like, audiences kind of get annoyed at that. If you're one of those audience members that watched a movie like Ghostbusters 2016 and are like, oh my god, stupid feminist, try this movie. This movie is about feminism, but it's told very, very well. Both the mother and the daughter are victims of being females in this society, but both on different levels. The mother, played by Kathy Bates, is a victim of repression. She's in this abusive relationship with her husband, and her husband beats her and stuff like that. Meanwhile, the daughter, she's working for a big newspaper publication as a journalist, and she's fucking her boss, and she's kind of depressed, and it really shows that the problems that the mother had were inherited by her daughter. And we get that beautiful scene as well, where Dolores Claiborne is talking to her boss, Vera, and Vera tells her life philosophy. This whole time you're thinking this Vera character, she's a bit of a bitch and she's an old hag, but then she tells her point of view through a flashback. She tells Dolores that in a world that's run by men, your only defense is to be a bitch. And it's not done in a hammy way. I thought it was a really gripping scene, and it really goes to show that, wow, this character that we thought was two-dimensional really does have her life philosophy that she passed on to Dolores Claiborne.
Sometimes, Dolores, sometimes you have to be a high-riding bitch to survive. Sometimes being a bitch is all a woman has to hang on to.
And that's why I think this movie is riveting. It has a lot to say about society, but it never forgets what its purpose is, and it's a movie, and its purpose is to tell a narrative, to entertain you. Is there a lot of action in this movie? No. Despite it having Kathy Bates, it's not on the level of A Misery when it comes to action. There's not as many scenes that you're on the edge of your seat. It's more of a subdued and subtle film, which I appreciate. It's on a different level than Misery, but I can still appreciate it. Two things that kind of come to mind randomly in this movie. So the first thing is, back in August or July, I was doing a Harry Potter marathon, and a commenter tore me a new asshole. A commenter tore me a new asshole because I kept calling the character of Dolores Umbridge Dolores Claiborne. And this review, I'm trying so hard not to call Dolores Claiborne Dolores Umbridge. I don't know why. My brain, I can't decipher them. But anyway, if at all during this review I said the name Dolores Umbridge instead of Dolores Claiborne, I apologize. You may further tear my butthole. Other than that, this movie was released around the time of Shawshank Redemption, which I didn't review on this marathon. Neither did I review Stand By Me or Green Mile, because I don't really view those as horror movies, and I feel like October is a horror month, so I wanted to focus on horror movies. But yeah, there's a reference to Shawshank Redemption in this movie, where Dolores says that they're gonna haul her husband's ass to Shawshank.
All right, get my bill!
The only thing you're gonna get is a long stretch in Shawshank Prison for child molesting.
Goddamn bitch!
I'm sure all the nerds on the internet are doing some crazy, whoa, this is the cinematic universe, the Stephen King cinematic universe, making a thumbnail with a bunch of red arrows pointing at different frames. What did you miss in Dolores Claiborne? How it connects with all the Stephen King movies? Yeah, that's me just being a little cynical. Overall, Dolores Claiborne, I remember I thought it was boring the first time I watched it, but it's because I was a little kid and my parents were watching it and I was watching it with them. But now that I'm older and I can understand the themes behind this movie, it's a lot more interesting and makes a lot more sense. So if you haven't seen Dolores Claiborne, I suggest you watch it. And stay tuned, guys. More Stephen King reviews coming your way.